You guys doing? A lot's changed since the last time we met, for sure. I know you guys are all over that. You know, as far as what we're looking for in spring on offense, number one, we've got to do a better job of establishing identity. I thought at times last year we were searching for that. I think we got to a better place at that at the end of the year, understanding our personnel, the personnel that we've been able to infuse the roster with. I think has created a lot of competition. So this spring we're going out and we're focusing on three things, right? That's our tempo, that's attack, that's a vertical run game and vertical pass game, and being physical at all 11 positions. There's a time when the game gets reduced to 1/11th, and that last receiver's got to be physical at his position. So those are the things we're focusing on. From there, you know, as far as that goes along with our culture and what we expect to win football games, for us on offense, to win games, you first have to not lose them, okay? That starts with protecting the football and then being able to create explosives. That's what we call our double positive. If you do those two things and beat the other opponent at that, over the last 20 years, you win 93% of your games. That's college football statistics. Number two, we're looking for execution in the spring. Alignment, assignment, technique. That's what the players are held accountable to. That's what we're held accountable to as coaches. And then relentless effort. Are we going to be able to put 11 guys on the field that are going to be unselfish and play relentless at all times? So those are the things we're looking for in the spring. We're very excited about finishing phase one. I think we've made a lot of strides on the offensive side of the ball, both from a personnel, competition, and schematic standpoint from our offseason studies, and I can't wait to get started. So I'll open it up for questions. Appreciate you guys being here.
Tyler, I think a lot was made on social media and everything yesterday about the move to quarterbacks coach, position you've never coached before, but do you have any mentors that you've relied upon who have been at that position, or has it been as a previous OC that you've been hand in hand with that room in the past and you know what it takes to help develop quarterbacks and in turn help an offense get going?
Yeah, well, I think the one thing that I think everyone would know is as an offensive coordinator, it's not like I wasn't already heavily involved with the quarterback position. I think there are a ton of benefits with me being in that room day to day that I felt through last season. We scheduled meetings throughout the year. I had certain checkpoints with those guys during a week from a game plan standpoint, but you miss some of the day-to-day, the development, their alignment, how they're throwing the football, and honestly what they're comfortable with schematically, and me being able to make sure that the offensive identity is shaped around that player because it all starts and ends with him. I've had a ton of mentors. I've been around quarterback play in offensive rooms my whole career. I never played tight end either, but I'd like to think I did a pretty good job of recruiting and developing that position. Good enough to be able to do it at the highest level of football. And I feel the same way with the quarterback position. I do have mentors, most recently guys like Brian Schottenheimer, Darrell Bevel, just to name a couple. But obviously it's something I've been involved with the whole way. And I think tight end, if you understand that position and the way it is in the new age of football, there's a lot of similarities in the two positions. I know he doesn't throw and catch, but you're involved in every facet of the game. That's why I enjoyed coaching that position. I think there's some carryover, but I think the benefit that comes for our offense is that decision maker that's got to be on every play, him understanding what I want with each call and the why behind it to a T, the same way I do. He's an extension of me on the field. And then also just me understanding those guys, what strengths and weaknesses and what are they comfortable with on a day-to-day basis.
Have you always been intrigued by the quarterback position? Like, have you always maybe wanted to coach quarterbacks?
I don't know. I think obviously it's an important position with the offense. I wouldn't say from an intrigue standpoint. I think everyone knows in the game of football on the offensive side of the ball, it starts and ends with that position. I also think it's a position that gets way too much blame when it goes wrong and way too much credit when it goes right. It takes all 11. But it's something obviously I've always been in tune with as an OC at Fordham, as a co-OC. No matter what position I've coached, you're always in tune on what the decision-making is from the quarterback position because obviously that structures your identity around it with all the other positions.
You mentioned growing closer with the guys in that room. How do you feel like your relationship is with the quarterbacks right now, and how excited are you over this spring to continue to develop those relationships and grow closer and, like you said, kind of shape that identity around them?
I'm excited. I mean, obviously, you know, to echo again, I had a ton of time with that room last year. We had checkpoint meetings daily during the season. Same thing during spring ball. I bought any special teams meeting time, half of our tight end meetings, I would be in that room. So I think it was an easy transition from a relationship standpoint. I'm someone they're familiar with. And I think they're going to be very comfortable of understanding just more of the why behind what we're doing. I think we can do a better job of bridging that gap for those guys.
And adding Elijah and Ron to the offensive staff, what do you like about those hires? Why are they right for you guys in Virginia Tech?
Well, number one, I think they're great fits from a culture and footprint standpoint. I've known Elijah Brooks for, I believe, 8 years now. It may be 10. I've recruited his school when he was a head coach at DeMatha Catholic High School. Have stayed in touch with Elijah the whole time. He's an ultimate professional. He's done a really good job of developing running backs at his prior institution. I'm excited of what he brings to the staff from a schematic standpoint, from a development standpoint, and a recruiting standpoint. Coach Crook, the same way, had a lot of common connections with him. There's a lot of things that align philosophically with where we want to go offensively. Some of the experiences he's had at Cincinnati and West Virginia, being able to play with tempo, being able to be immersed in the schemes that we want to develop our identity around the run game. So I thought that was an easy transition. And obviously he has footprint experience as well from a recruiting standpoint. So that's been, to me, we haven't really skipped the beat. You know, they kind of got started yesterday, and we were in the office from 7 to about 11:30 last night, getting I's dotted and T's crossed. But it was like you've known them their whole life. I've known Elijah for a while, but Ron the same way. Feel really comfortable with where our offensive staff is.
You knew you were going in last season looking for a starting quarterback. This season you had a guy that's played every game for you. How different is this competition going to be in the spring and then in fall camp compared to what it might have been last year?
Well, it was an open competition last year, and you know, we try to do a great job. We don't try. We evaluate every rep from a completion standpoint, from an incompletion standpoint, from a decision-making standpoint. Those reps are graded no different than the game, so that gives us a analytical view of exactly what's going on, taking the emotion out of it, right? But I do think, obviously, with any of our positions right now, with the influx of players, like they're all open competitions, whether that be at the receiver position, the quarterback position. Like I said before, I know it's a polarizing position in football, quarterback play, and we need to be better there. But I would say this, we also need to be better in areas around the quarterback position. So I think those two things go hand in hand. Well, I wouldn't say the competition is different. I would say that the competition level has been heightened and raised on our entire offensive unit, not also including the quarterback position.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Is there anything that you guys did in last year's spring practice that you wanted to approach differently this year to maybe see different results?
Sure. I mean, I think when you have a season the way we did, or if we would have had a great season, I'm the kind of person, I've always been around, and the way I was brought up in coaching, like you're going to analyze everything from what we did in phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 to phase 4 to prepare ourselves for that season. And if there was one thing that I go back looking at our installs and formulating them for this year, when you've got a lot of new guys on the team, you got a couple of new coaches, I think we probably put the cart before the horse a little bit with some of our scheme things. So really what we're focusing on is that foundational identity, right? The tempo piece. We've got to be able to play with tempo at times. That doesn't mean we're always fast, but when we want to go fast, we need to be able to do that. I think that gives us an advantage. It caused misaligned, misassignments, and tired legs by the defense. That's an advantage for the offense if we can harness that in the right way. And then from that attack mentality, I think we probably got a little ahead of ourselves with some run schemes, if I was being critical myself and honest. So this year we want to get it back. I mean, we want to start with our vertical run game, both our inside zone and gaps, and that's got to be an identity for us. It's got to be something that the players line up, they're comfortable with, and they believe in, all right? And they're able to go out and execute confidently no matter what the defensive look is. So I think when I look at things, especially being able to run the ball better, which is priority number one to having a healthy offense, those are some things I look back to spring install where maybe we can kind of hone some things back and really get good at the 100 level things as we build forward. Yep.
With improving the running game being the top priority, no matter who the starting quarterback is, how much does an improved running game help that quarterback?
Oh, it helps them tremendously. You know, my philosophy, we want to be able to run the ball vertically, like I've mentioned a couple times in this session. And then from that, a healthy run game creates run-pass option opportunities and play-action opportunities. And when you can live in that world, in an RPO world, in a play-action world, in a movement pass world off of your run game, that takes a lot of stress off the quarterback. It also takes a lot of stress off the offensive line. So having that healthy run game is something that's, like I said, priority number one. We did a lot of things, not only studying our film, but studying best practices that are happening around the country with teams that have rushed the ball well in both the NFL and the college level. And I think you try to steal an idea here or there, and how can we improve? What are trends going on that are helping other units? And that's something we would do every year. But I feel really good with where we're at in a place with our run game to start with our identity run and really be able to complement that with the other schemes that we put on the field from a run game standpoint. But back to it, a healthy run game certainly helps everything. And it's all 11, right? It's also being able to use the quarterback at times in the run game. I think we've got to make a more concerted effort to that at times, and we've got to do a better job at coaching some of our read game, both first level and second level, to take advantage of defenders plus in our box, both from a throw standpoint and a run standpoint. That's what we're recruiting. We're recruiting a triple threat quarterback room, a room that can beat you with their arm, beat you with their legs, and beat you with their mind. And we're fortunate we have athletes in that room at every level of it. Some different types of athletes than others, but they all are threats with their legs. And I think all of those things play in part of having a healthier run game and taking stress off of the quarterback from a drop back pass standpoint.
How important is offensive line development this spring, especially with maybe moving some pieces around to different positions and trying to establish that 2 and 3 deep?
It all starts with those guys, doesn't it? I mean, we all know that having a healthy offensive line that can get off the ball and dent the front, that certainly takes a lot of stress off of the entire unit. So that is a priority for us this spring. Not only developing that first group with some moving pieces, some younger players that are maybe going into year 2, but also being able to develop our depth, making sure that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th guy that could go in the game. I think we were pretty fortunate last year from a medical standpoint with that group, but we've got to be prepared and develop that group as it goes down once you get past those 5. But I think there are areas to improve in every level, and that physicality piece that we're talking about with our offense, it really starts with that group. So developing that mentality, honing in on our technique and our craft has been something that's been very important to us this winter, and it will continue through with the coaching change and what we're doing in the spring.
All right, let's go out to Zoom.
All right, on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to ask questions. We'll begin with Tim Sullivan.
Tyler, you talked about your kind of pre-existing relationship with Elijah and getting to know Ron. What are the conversations like when Joe leaves or when Brad leaves with Coach Pry about kind of how the candidates will be first off uncovered and then kind of evaluated when you guys go through an interview process for those guys to make sure they're the fits that you expected them to be?
Yeah, so it all starts, I think, with the way the profession works now, and unfortunately the moving of pieces in the major Power 5 level for different opportunities. It all starts with, we try to constantly keep a list together by position of guys that we know, that we evaluate over time, that we build relationships with, and I think it all starts there. So it starts with that combination of myself and Coach Pry talking about what do we need, what is a fit for our players, what is a fit for our culture, and then trying to go through our contacts within that list and establish who could be the candidates there. And then you go from there, right? There are certainly hurdles that come up in any hiring process. From some guys are unhireable at the time. Maybe they signed a new contract, maybe their buyout features in play, things like that. So you kind of go down, and then what we did is I spent an entire week basically from 6 in the morning until midnight Zooming multiple candidates, and we had a ton of interest for the O-line job. The running back job was a little different because we were shuffling pieces, right? So that was not as known, but a ton of guys for the O-line job. And then we kind of identified from our list those running back candidates. And it comes down to an interview standpoint of, hey, what philosophically matches? Everyone's going to coach things a little different, but the same results expected on the field. So how close can we be philosophically? Who's willing to come in at this point in spring ball and be willing to bend to our terminology of what our players know? That was something that was very important to me in the hiring process, particularly the offensive line coach, that someone was going to be flexible. Everybody calls a combination block maybe something a little different, but our guys know it as this. So are we going to be comfortable with that? So that really was the process. Myself and Coach Pry on those Zooms in constant communication with each other in the direction that we wanted to go.
Travis, we're good on Zoom.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all's time.